Item: SCP-668. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: Revised. As of data expunged, no special containment procedures aside from standard security are required. SCP-668 is to be transferred to a locked safe deposit box at Site-19's high-value item storage facility. Standard defenses against intrusion, explosive, chemical, biological, and mimetic, are to be in place at all times, according to standard operating procedure. SCP-668 may only be removed from its safe deposit box by personnel with security clearance 2 or higher. Individuals wishing to make use of SCP-668 outside Site-19 must first submit a Form 668 Requested Course of Action Form to 05-11 and be fitted with an explosive kill switch collar on a 24-hour timer before taking SCP-668 into the field. An auditing officer with security clearance 4 or higher must confirm that SCP-668 has been returned to its safe deposit box before the collar is deactivated. Description: SCP-668 is a 33 cm, 13 inches, chef's knife with a rosewood handle and full tang construction, crafted at some point from the late 1930s to the early 1940s. When first acquired by field operatives, SCP-668 was in badly rusted condition, with heavy pitting from blood stains and other bodily fluids trapped in micro crevices within the blade. Following thorough analysis, these irregularities were removed for aesthetic purposes. This has had negligible, if any, effect on SCP-668's special properties. The first recorded appearance of SCP-668 was in the 1960s, during the infamous Data Expunged case. Data Expunged, a New York woman living alone, was allegedly raped and murdered by Subject Data Expunged. Despite the fact that 38 witnesses reported hearing the attack, none of them attempted to aid the young woman for over 6 hours, until her eventual death. Whether the item received its properties due to this event, or whether it had them beforehand, is a matter of debate. See Dr. Redacted. S. Paper A. The Bystander Effect, vs. Dr. Redacted. S. Theory regarding psychic imprintation. What is clear, however, is its current properties. When carried by a human or humanoid entity with violent intent towards another human or humanoid entity, SCP-668 broadcasts a psychic signal that renders all sentient beings with a psionic resistance index of 97 or lower incapable of assisting the victim. Affected entities report a sudden sense of apathy while under SCP-668's influence. Sensory input is not affected, and affected entities report feeling revulsion and horror, but are simply incapable of acting, even indirectly, to assist the victim. Meanwhile, it renders the victim incapable of defending themselves against their attacker. Tests using Class D personnel have shown no upper limit in the number of entities affected by the psychic resonance. In one test, 12 Class D personnel due for first-of-the-month termination were placed in a room alongside a researcher who was told to randomly select one test subject for death. The researcher killed all test subjects one by one, despite their professed horror. Prior incidents have indicated the possibility of hundreds, if not thousands of deaths due to SCP-668's unique properties. See Incident Report 668A Ray. Redacted. Mall Massacre and Subsequent Information Blackout Operations. Recovery of SCP-668 in such scenarios is problematic due to the item's psychic properties. Agents attempting to apprehend the subject during containment failure incidents are often themselves affected by SCP-668's so-called apathy field, resulting in casualties among Foundation personnel. Following Incident 668A, standard retrieval protocol includes the use of a long-range sniper rifle, double-blind conditions, and 3 different agents working in tandem through carefully coordinated actions to prevent any of them realizing that they are actively opposing the subject. Because of the obvious apocalyptic possibilities, it is the recommendation of this panel that SCP-668 be designated a Keter level threat and placed in high-level confinement.